right, 3, 2, 1, and here we go. I am Rod Smalls, and yes, this is Rise of the Black Warrior podcast. Okay, so as always, I want to thank everybody for taking time to check this out. Whether you're watching me live here on YouTube in the podcast in studio, or you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or any other way, I just want to thank you for taking time to check out this conversation where we talk about power. All right. I bring you messages from mentors about things that matter. It should matter to you, about having more power in your life. So today's conversation about power is conflict. Whether you feeling pissed off or pissed on, conflict is important. Now, nobody likes conflict when it's happening. I get it. See, in the middle of a conflict, you are triggered. You're upset because somebody did something. Somebody said something. Something didn't go your way. It's a part of being alive and a part of being in a community. It's having other people with other thoughts that are thinking other things at different times, that have objectives and agendas of their own. And when they don't match up with yours, there's always going to be a difference in opinion, a difference in action, a difference in thought. Now, when you have all these differences, people need to express themselves. And a person who's not expressed becomes frustrated and angry, bitter. Is that you right now? Are you harboring something inside right now that's making you bitter and angry because you refuse to do the one thing that's necessary, which is have conflict? So a conflict, right, means that I conflict. It's the opposite of what you do. Like, I don't like that. It's going against my grain. There's a conflict there. But when you treat it like a collision, like two ideas coming to like this, boom, and then we meet right there. And at that moment, when you meet right there in collision, there's an opportunity for people to either grow or fold. But you got to give people that opportunity. See, collision is that magical moment where you get to fully express exactly how you feel, and the other person has to receive it or not. And even though that they don't receive it, that's a response in itself. But many times we suffer from this thing called passive aggression, where we're upset about something and we'll do something else. We'll do something that is not directly related to us solving the problem. See, a problem at hand that requires a collision, it needs to be direct. Soon as you start going indirect, and soon as you start going sidestep to the real collision, that's when you off course. And people look.
Beep, 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 beep. Hold on. We interrupt this normally scheduled podcast to bring you some fire from my hotel room. That's right. As I'm listening to this podcast, I had to interject, and we are editing this live so that you can get some information that you need right now in the middle of this podcast. Why is that? Because I realize that there's some strategy that you may not have that will force you out of doing a collision. You will have your own fear block you from just colliding with somebody because you don't have a clear strategy on how to do it. So I'm going to give you a proven, foolproof method of how you can have a bang head collision with somebody, get something constructive out of it, and get somebody to do something that they normally wouldn't do because you've got an upper hand method. You guys ready for it? It's called the sandwich method. All right, so here's how we're going to build this thing. First thing you're going to do is you're going to hand over some bread. Everybody loves bread. That's a compliment. It's very easy. Hey, listen, nice to see you in the office, John. I like those shoes. Great. That breaks the ice. People like to hear nice things about themselves. Then the first thing you're going to do is you're going to introduce what the situation is. Hey, listen, John, I want to tell you something. Me and you having a collision, okay? There's something going on that I really need to talk to you about. And it's an issue because it's bothering me. Now, that is the meat. So when I'm building a sandwich, the first thing I want to do is put down the meat of the sandwich. Now, he knows we have a collision. We know that there's an issue. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring over some cheese. Hey, John, now listen, I know that this is a situation and this is an issue, but it's easily solved if you would do X, Y, and Z. If you can get over doing Y and now you can do X, Y, and Z, Hey, guess what? I think that we're going to have a much better situation, John, and it'll work for me and it'll also work for you. Great. Then I'm going to close with some more bread. Now, that's people like bread. That's a compliment. Now, John, the reason why I'm saying all of this is because you're one of the best key players on the team. And if we had you operating like this at this upper level, then guess what? All of us would do better. And we all look to you for your leadership, John. And I'm thanking you for even taking time to hear me out. Great. That's a sandwich. You've got bread, you've got meat, you've got cheese, and you've got bread. You start with the compliment. You give the situation, you offer the solution, and then you close with a compliment. If you do that in the simplest forms, that is a foolproof method for colliding with somebody on the biggest and the highest issues. That is how I have been proven to get through issues. Now, most times people just won't have a serious collision on something that's important to them because they don't have a strategy. But right now, you've got a strategy. Back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
Many times we don't want to collide with other people because we're so worried about what the end result is going to be that we forget that we need the collision in order to get the result that we want. The most important thing in this world is that you live a life fully expressed, that you fully get out the thoughts and the things that matter to you. And if you do not fully express yourself when you need to, you will find yourself in a frustrated world of hurt. So I'm going to tell you right now, there's probably so many instances in your life that you're saying to yourself, I wish I would have collided with that person. I wish I would have took the time at that moment when it was needed to collide with that person. So I'm going to give you some steps real quick. What I do is at the moment that I feel something that's triggered me, that's put me into a place where I'm upset with somebody else, immediately I put myself into a space by taking a deep breath. I got that from my son. Take one deep breath in. By taking that deep breath, it gives you pause and allows you to just suck in your environment so you don't react instinctively in a negative way. Then for a quick second, try to look at their point of view for a second. Why would they be doing this thing that's triggering me? This is a simple process. Why would they be doing it? Now, a lot of times we're going to make up our own imaginary stories, but I'm going to tell you, if you put yourself in their shoes for a quick minute, even if it's just a moment, you may give yourself enough space not to spaz out and go crazy on them. And lastly, I ask permission for us to have a conversation about it. Now, I'm going to tell you why that's powerful. Asking permission before you start to berate somebody opens the door for a powerful collision. When I say, listen, do you mind if I explain to you why I'm upset about what's going on right now? The moment they say yes, they have given you a doorway for you to express yourself. Now, when you start to berate somebody without getting that permission, which is really just a very simple and easy thing to do, which most people are not going to deny you and say, no, I don't want to hear it. But if they do, that's an inaction by itself. But just by getting that permission, it now grants on a conscious and a subconscious level you the ability to get your point across powerfully and clearly. And you will find yourself being much more dominant in a situation when you've already cleared the permission and started to lay out your cause. Now, I mean, from a simple conversation about stepping on your shoes all the way to a fist fight in the park, there's all levels of collision. But I'm going to tell you this. If you find yourself in a space where you are not expressing what it is that's bothering you, that's upsetting you, that's hurting you, that's breaking you down, or doesn't work for you, you will live a life of frustration. And God didn't put you here for that. Be bold enough, be strong enough to be self-expressed, to collide when necessary, because it does nothing good for you and nothing bad for them. All right, that's all I got. I am LeRod Smalls, and I'm so glad you joined me here today. Hey, listen, we get together on this podcast to share ideas. If you know someone who could benefit from this conversation, like, subscribe, and share this podcast with them. And I'm going to challenge you. If you see yourself growing in our community, if you're looking for somebody to hold you accountable, if you're looking to join a tribe of men that is dominant and looking to support you, then this is the tribe for you. Go out to riseoftheblackwarrior.com. Take the challenge. That's all I got. All right. Now remember, You are only one decision away from changing your whole world. All right, everybody. Peace.